Hello there and welcome to Eventful Arabia. I'm Eithne Treanor, your host for this podcast. And joining me today to actually address some of the big fun issues that are happening in the world of entertainment is Amy Morris, the founder of Pop-Up Global and the co-founder of Creative Events Collective. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy.
Thank you for having me. I'm honoured to be here. I've had this company, Pop-Up Global, for 11 years this year. And on my own experiences as a performer in the industry, I knew exactly what I didn't want my performers and creatives to feel like. It can't be a one-person job. It can't be one creative mind developing these concepts over and over again. It's got to be a group effort, and then we kind of use each other as a sounding board. Just put an ad out recently and we got 1,800 people apply. We had dancers that have just danced with Christina Aguilera, that have just danced with 50 Cent. They're the top of their game, and then they're coming to work with us. The strongest currency we have right now is attention. To be able to sit down and watch a show, it's got to be good. We have so many performers that have performing bucket lists. Their aim is to not stay with you. So when we do have performers that come back time and time again, we know we're doing something incredibly right. That you'll probably get 15 to 20 no's before you get a yes, and just keep going. I mean, even me as a business owner, it's not yes, yes, yes. We pitch for jobs over and over and over and over again, and then we'll get a yes.
Amy Morris, thank you so much from Pop-Up Global. We'll be back with more Eventful Arabia. Stay tuned. Hello there and welcome to Eventful Arabia, the show that brings you behind the scenes of everything eventful in the region here in the GCC and beyond. I'm Eithne Treanor, your host for this podcast. Now, we get to talk to a lot of people around events, and I tend to do a lot more conferences, exhibitions, but we have to look at the event space in a much wider focus. And indeed, that's what we're going to be looking at today. And joining me today to actually address some of the big fun issues that are happening in the world of entertainment and longer term events is Amy Morris. And Amy is the founder of Pop-Up Global and the co-founder of Creative Events Collective. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy.
Thank you for having me. I'm honoured to be here.
Well, it's a delight to have you here. And when we think about like grand events and big events and entertainment events and probably longer term events as well, talk to me a little bit about how do you bring a concept to reality, and where are sometimes the restrictions on that for you?
Yeah, let's start with the restrictions. We obviously receive RFPs and we receive briefs from such an array of different clients, because we don't just work in events, we work in retail space, we work in the cruise and leisure space. And I'd say 95% of the time, we actually are given the concept to then develop. And that can really vary.
And that might be no fun sometimes, because you're the creative people here.
Exactly. And so it can really vary in creativity depending on who has sent it. And in those instances, we kind of all get together, bring in our creative minds, and we decide, one, whether the budget matches the brief that's being asked of us, because if it doesn't, we don't engage with the job. But if it does, we then bring in our choreographers, our costume designers, and it can't be a one-person job. It can't be one creative mind developing these concepts over and over again. It's got to be a group effort, and then we kind of use each other as a sounding board. The other 5% of the time, when we have the pleasure of, creating the concept ourselves, that's when it's really fun. And we're currently in the process of developing a concept at the moment, which will be a 6-month long activation in the Middle East. And we can go wild. There are so many entertainment elements within that one event itself that gets our team incredibly excited.
Well, give us a feel for what you would do. How many different elements would you put into this long-term event? Because in a way, that's what it's going to be. It's the mega event.
Exactly. And it's all about the dwell time. So we have to think about how we keep those customers inside this space for as long as possible, because, of course, the goal is for them to spend. And for them to be able to do that, they have to be engaged and entertained by the program that we create. So I can't talk too much in detail about what we're doing because it's all in development right now. But there will be live stage shows. There will be live immersive experiences for families to enjoy. And then there will be entertainment shows that perhaps have never been seen in the region before that are being created and developed right now as we speak.
Now, you talk about bringing so many people to the table when you're pulling this together. How early do you need to do that? I mean, are you pulling people together at the concept stage? I mean, the choreography, the people, you need to pull a whole lot of people together to make this work. But at what point do you say, okay, this is what we've got an idea of and let's go? Who comes in then?
So it really varies job to job. So if it's an event where the brief is pretty standard, say it was a musical theatre styled show, we can pitch all the way through that without engaging with any creatives because it's something that's a little bit more off the shelf. We then don't engage with them until we get to the point where we have the lead time that we know we need to be able to deliver once we've been awarded. On something like the project that I was talking about before, we need to bring them in on the concept stages because we need their minds to be able to develop the concept further and further and make sure that it's achievable, because us guys, it's all very well as saying we want this, this and this, and then the choreographer looks at what they've got to do and they're like, we can never do that. Or the costume, and that's a battle between choreography and costume as well. We always need to make sure they're aligned early doors, because if the costumes are too restrictive for the choreography, we're in trouble.
I mean, it's amazing. The things you have to think about, though, before you even get to the politics. The costume's been too restrictive. I've never thought of that one. But, I mean, even little things like that can make such a big difference. And again, when you're looking at all of these people, it's a pretty competitive space out there. I mean, how do you go about making sure that you can actually find the right people for the job?
We put a huge, huge focus on culture at Pop-Up. And I've had this company, Pop-Up Global, for 11 years this year. And on my own experiences as a performer in the industry, I knew exactly what I didn't want my performers and creatives to feel like. So from day dot, when we were this tiny little company in the north of England, I still focused on the experiences my performers had. And now we've really gained traction and a reputation within the industry as being one of the most fun and a place where you're just able to be yourself and authentic. So now when we cast for jobs, we just put an ad out recently and we got 1,800 people apply. 1,800. We only had 8 jobs to fill.
That's extraordinary. And that's all in the performing arts, is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have our own database of performers where we will put these jobs out to, but we also have 30,000 followers on Instagram. So that's our community. That's where our people are. And just over the years, we've just built a reputation of a company that people want to work for. So even when it's jobs that might not be the most attractive job in the industry at that time, they still want to do it because they want to work with us.
That's extraordinary. When you have, an audience and a community talking around ideas like that and wanting to be part of it, I mean, that's very, very powerful. So it gives you, I suppose, a first priority for a lot of people. So you know you're going to get the right people.
We get the best talent. And I say that, I may be biased, but I say it with confidence that we get the best talent in the industry. We did a job on New Year's Eve and we had 10 days to execute on it. And we had dancers that have just danced with Christina Aguilera, that have just danced with 50 Cent. They're the top of their game. And then they're coming to work with us because of our reputation and the experience they know they'll have with us. Well,
that's extraordinary. And, we wish you the very best and hope that continues and grows here in the region. When you look at this region, I think, and the potential that's in this region, now you've delivered quite a few shows, and talk to us maybe about the shows you put on at Yas, for Ferrari and that. Really different, new, exciting. That must have been a great thrill to actually work on them and put them on and know that you're going to have more like it, or probably even better ones.
Miral was a client that we had wanted to work with for years, and before we even came here, because they obviously have Ferrari World, Warner Brothers, SeaWorld, and now they've just announced they've got Disney. So that was a huge achievement, and it was an honour that we were already working with them when that got announced. And we were engaged to do their ice skating show within Ferrari World theme park it's to increase dwell time and therefore spend on the people that are visiting the theme park. But We had 2.5 weeks from the minute it got awarded to the day it got live. So
why does that not surprise me in this region sometimes?
I know.
But the incredible thing is people can deliver, and I'm sure you did.
They can, and we did. But what I wish people of the region understood is, yes, we do it, and it's good. But my God, it could be unbelievable if you just gave us the correct time to be able to do this. And that is probably one of the most frustrating challenges that we come up against here in the region versus our experience in the UK prior.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a challenge that everybody has to deal with too. And sometimes I can see the reason, because they pull things out of the hat because they're, surprise visits by various people, heads of state and various people from around the world. And they're good at it. But as you say, yes, it would be a great help to everybody to make sure that you had that little bit more lead time.
Yes.
So, but this is, it's sent to challenges. That's the whole region at the minute.
It keeps us on our toes, doesn't it?
You talk a lot now about the concept of the dwell time. I mean, anything that's there. Nowadays, people want to go to an experience rather than just go shopping. And even you do a lot of work in shopping malls and that too, in terms of catchment areas. Talk to me about your seasonal sort of event that you've been doing in many areas around the world.
So we have, and this is a creative events collective, we are the creators of something called The Grotto. And that started in Manchester in the UK. And then we did our first year in Dubai Mall in December just gone. And then this year we have 2 more locations that I cannot discuss right now, but the concept is growing. And that was on the back of me working in the festive industry for the past decade and just seeing the real disconnect between the festive experience and the luxury market. My business partner, she does incredible events around the world, multi-million pound events. I mean, she would be great to have on this podcast because she could really talk all things events. And we kind of came together because her luxury experience and my festive entertainment experience together created The Grotto. And now it's not just go in, sit on Santa's knee, have a picture and leave. You enter this world inside, and it's all ran and delivered by scripted performances by incredible performers. And these children really are taken on this magical journey where they're immersed in this world. And so Seeing Father Christmas is the last 5 minutes of this journey where these children have been into Candy Cane Land and Merrymaker's workshop and Santa's study before they've even got to the main event. And it has really elevated the festive experience.
I mean, I can see what a wonderful experience that would be. But also you bring in, it's like a theatrical show, is it? It's a scripted...
It's completely scripted.
Yes.
Yeah, created by Pop-Up Global. So Creative Events Collective used Pop-Up Global to develop the entertainment part of the experience. So that's really nice because both of my babies get to come together to bring this to life.
Well done on that. One thing, we look at, I suppose, around the world and the shift to high tech when it comes to entertainment. But not that it sounds low tech, but this sounds more, I don't know. Talk to me about the high tech element of it. It's not as visible as we might think. It's probably there in the background.
Yeah, we try to stay away from that kind. We want the real human touch. We want it to feel, that oldie worldy Harry Potter type world. And so if you start introducing high-tech elements, I do think it takes away from the magic of it. And don't get me wrong, tech and now the uses we have of AI and all of that can really elevate entertainment in a lot of ways. But when it comes to these magical experiences, we don't lean into that as much.
I mean, and I was recently in New York, and the prices for tickets on Broadway, for shows with real live people on a stage with nothing too fancy going on. I mean, some of them are hitting beyond $1,000 a ticket. I mean, That's not unusual. So the idea that people actually want events and want performance, want like the real thing. That I think is quite incredible in a time of tech. I mean, maybe that's the new break away from it all and actually go see something real to break away from technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like people are moved by live performances. And, we talk about this a lot. The strongest currency we have right now is attention. We need to be able to capture people's attention because we've got our phones, TikTok, Instagram, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And so to be able to sit down and watch a show, it's got to be good. And it's got to have that that element to it that moves you as a human being. And in my experience, tech doesn't do that. It's when 12 beautiful voices come together, when 25 unbelievably talented dancers dance perfectly in sync. That's what moves you, not tech. Tech impresses you in different ways, but when we're talking about emotion and being moved, that is what does that.
I think you're so right. And we even see, smaller events around the country too, making sure around this region and around the world, like putting elements of entertainment into their shows, even to start a show or to maybe a grand finale of a show. And it can be something very different. But you talk about this concept of dwell. Let me come back to that, because a lot of times, companies need a big budget to put on a show that's worth seeing. And you can almost know if it's a big budget show because it tends to just have that look and feel and everything's wonderful about it. But how can companies and how can, I suppose, event spaces measure the return on investment on something like that? What is it that they say, that was worth investing in?
It depends on the client and it depends on the sector. So in the retail space, they can measure footfall, dwell time, spend. But in other sectors, it is harder to quantify. But I think the ROI that people miss or don't look at and want to look at is exactly what we were talking about before. So if you're watching a show that moves you, it creates emotions. The emotions create memories, and the memories make people come back time and time again and tell everybody they know about it. But that is hard to measure. And so that's why quite often entertainment is viewed lower down the priority list when it shouldn't be, because it's the piece of the puzzle that sparks the most emotion. We always say no one remembers the chicken. When you go to an event and you get served some chicken and a Sauvignon, no one's talking about that when they leave the event. They're talking about how they felt and what is it that makes them feel something. It's the human connection, it's the people, and it's the way they felt at that moment.
You're so right. Now, you do a lot of work, or you've done a lot of work on cruise ships. Talk to me a little bit about that, because sometimes I think cruise ships are becoming big event spaces. And the whole concept of cruising around the world is definitely becoming on top of people's agenda too. I think the travel industry has really connected with that. But you don't just go on a cruise and go from port to port. I mean, there's almost an itinerary for the day in terms of what's going to happen on a cruise. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, you get your cruise news. You get that delivered to your cabin every day, so you know what's happening.
You'll have the cruise podcast and the cruise TV soon. Yes.
So my background is cruise. That's where I was a performer on board cruise ships. So it's a place very close to my heart. And I remember back in the day, being a cruise ship performer was almost an insult. If you remember Pop Idol and X Factor, Simon Cowell used to say, "You're just like a cruise ship performer." That's a compliment, because the variety of shows that you have to deliver on board a ship, you've got to do musical theatre one night, then you've got to do rock the next night, then you've got to do pop the night after that, then you're doing tap, then you're doing jazz, then you've got to be so versatile. It's a compliment to be called a cruise ship performer. But I know that over the 12 years since I was a cruise ship performer, now you can go watch Mamma Mia on board a ship. You can go watch We Will Rock You, the licensed West End shows on board there, because they are a theatrical event in itself. And people are now taking over full cruise ships. Brands are taking over full cruise ships and making massive, solid events on board there.
It is. It's quite extraordinary. And also, I believe there's a lot of visibility for speakers on cruise ships as well. So your itinerary doesn't all have to be about entertainment. You can actually learn things.
Yeah.
I knew a woman who taught bridge on cruise ships, so you can actually go out there and learn a variety of things.
My dad came on to see my shows a couple of years ago, went and learnt how to play the ukulele every day, and now plays the ukulele really well and plays in little concerts. He learned that on a cruise ship.
That's gorgeous. That's just a lovely example, isn't it, of things you can do on a cruise ship, things you never knew that you needed to learn. I mean,
Exactly.
So we'll all have to be checking that out. And in fact, this region, the cruise ship business is definitely on the growth level here. So it's there we go. I might put it on my list of things to do. Again, come back to this idea of the performers that you need to get in place too. It's a very temporary business in many ways. You can offer them perhaps a 5-month run, maybe a year run, something like that. But then it's all over after that. So how do you manage your people, I suppose, to keep them on board? And then there is that turnover and hope that you might get the same people back again.
I think, first of all, it's understanding. And I think I have that understanding from my own experience. Performers want variety. You don't have a very long shelf life as a performer, especially in the world that we're in. Mid-30s, you probably won't be getting booked as much as you were. And you don't want to be living that life anymore because you're flying here, you're driving there, you're all over the place. So I think it's understanding that if they don't come back the year after, it's not because of you, it's because they've gone on to the next experience. We have so many performers that have performing bucket lists. I want to work at Disney, I want to work on a ship, I want to work on TV, I want to be in a film, I want to do West End, and then anything in between. So their aim is to not stay with you. So when we do have performers that come back time and time again, we know we're doing something incredibly right. And it just goes back to the culture. We have something called the Fun Fund, where we put a percentage of our profits back into activities for our performers. So for our cruise ship rehearsals, they stay with us for 8 weeks. And every week they have a different activity. It might be yoga. It might be, we got them all theatre tickets. We get a masseuse in, they all get a massage at the end of a week's rehearsals. We do things where we really give back and show that we appreciate the hard work that goes into those intense periods, because it is intense and it is hard work. And I don't think there is enough credit given to these young performers that are working 9-10 hour days, singing and dancing all day, 6 days a week before they've even gone live. So it's all about the care and the culture that we create.
That's probably something many companies might want to adopt. And I've never had a job that looked after me like that.
No, I didn't.
But I guess you see that as part of, your responsibility, and also the motivation that, you need to make sure that you're actually bringing everybody together. Do you think that's something that this industry, the events industry, probably needs to do more of? Because it is a quick turnaround, and yet you're so dependent on the people to deliver it.
Yeah, I think there are some actually great companies out there that have that ethos where people look after each other. But on the whole, I think the event and entertainment industry could do a lot better. I think performers are often seen as disposable, perhaps, especially in the UK. The culture in the entertainment industry can be pretty brutal. People are still getting weighed every week, and it's not the best industry for mental health.
Well, yeah, I mean, it probably is hazard of the job. It's probably a bit flippant of me to say that, but I think we've all, being on stage a lot, you're only as good as your last show, and that's never going to change.
No.
So in many ways, I think there is a sense of resilience that performers need to build up. Maybe talk to me a little bit about that, because when we look at any side of the event industry, in a way, it is quite temporary. People will come and go. And, no matter what part you play in it, you really do have to build up a sense of resilience, because I think everybody is a performer in many ways.
Yeah.
How do you think people do that? And clearly the ones who can do it are the ones who will succeed.
I think, well, if we strip it back, there's no other jobs I can think of where you are immediately judged on the way you look and the way you perform in that audition within the first 10 minutes. There isn't another job. So you have to have thick skin before you even enter it. If you're somebody that takes things personally, this is not the industry for you, because 9 times out of 10, it's not personal. Everybody on the casting panel knows exactly what they're looking for. It might be that you're just an inch too tall or just not blonde enough. It doesn't mean you're not talented or you're not great. It's just there's a specific brief in mind. So it's understanding that and having that thick skin. it's also knowing that you'll probably get 15 to 20 no's before you get a yes, and just keep going. I mean, even me as a business owner, It's not yes, yes, yes. We pitch for jobs over and over and over and over again, and then we'll get a yes. It's that mentality of we just keep going, we get back up again over and over again. And I was saying to you before off air, it's just at that moment where you think you're about to quit, where a massive yes comes in and changes your life. So you just have to keep going.
So in a way, leaving the performance side of it, you've probably just taken on a different type of performance.
Yeah.
So again, making that shift from being a performer to now being, a producer, a manager, an owner, actually putting the shows on. It comes back down to, I suppose, that same resilience, because particularly in this region where a lot of, I think, events and a lot of big shows are probably very new. I mean, there's a great opportunity because of that, but it can, as you say, too, have its challenges. So how, as a business owner, do you also, within the event space and within the longer term event space, how do you sort of pick yourself up every day and go again and write that next proposal and keep going?
I have just been talking about this week, and I think it's a mindset that's taken me 11 years to get there. Because for any young people listening to this, it does take years of experiences to build up that kind of resilience. I don't think you're 18 and have the resilience you have in your late 30s. I just don't think. It does take time and experience. And what I've really realised about myself in the past 12 months, based on the incredible challenges that I've faced in business, no matter what happens, I always cope. And I think I'm not going to cope. And then on the other side, I go, God, I coped with that. So if I know, no matter what the outcome is, even if it's not the outcome I want, that I'm going to cope, I don't need to fear it anymore, because I will be fine on the other side. And that mindset shift that I've had recently has been a game changer, because now when I see it all falling apart, I think all I can do here is put it back together and know that whatever that results in, I'll be fine.
And I guess, too, it's about looking back on the areas and the times when you thought it was all falling apart and you actually did manage it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we don't remember those times often enough, because to, wrap this up too, I was wondering and you've put a few words of advice in there without a doubt, but maybe elaborate on that a little bit, the words of advice that you would put to anybody in the longer term events industry. Just to make sure that it's a thriving industry. I think as an industry, the governments here, the various tourist boards, everybody who will be behind it want it to work. But if there's any words of advice you'd want to put out there for people getting into this industry, what would it be?
I think I'm working on the assumption here that 9 times out of 10, these are self-employed events and entertainment. People are self-employed. I think it's important to remember you are your own business. You are your own personal brand. And by that, I mean not just how you present yourself online, but how you walk into any room, how you tackle any job, how you present yourself. You are representing your own individual business. And I think that not enough people understand that, because the impression you make on the people that you work with is going to result in your success. And that comes from kindness, teamwork, flexibility, all of those skills. You need to be sharing those and presenting those in every opportunity. But I also think going on to the online, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, these are your shop windows. And being able to present the things that you've done and the skills that you have to as many people as possible will 9 times out of 10 result in success.
And of course, there's no gatekeepers on this, which is great. I mean, I spent my life working in television, and to get anything on traditional broadcast, you had to go through a producer and you had to, be screened, and we might interview you or we might not. Whereby now, I think the open door, the platform that's there for people in the events industry is quite extraordinary.
You can put yourself in front of anybody you want on LinkedIn, find them, connect with them, make your posts geared towards their eyes. There's never been a time where we could do that before.
So it's audition day every day now in many ways, and particularly, I suppose, in the events industry. When you look maybe a year or two down the road, where do you see some of the trends? I think without a doubt you're very people-centric, and that's probably not going to change.
That's my hope. I think, listen, I'm the first to say ChatGPT and me are best friends. And the way that the world is going is amazing. But I really hope to God that in the entertainment world, we're still focusing on that human connection. If it comes a day where you can watch the entire of Mamma Mia in holograms, I quit, because that is not what people need to see. We need that live human element over and over again.
Yeah, I suppose that's the novelty of things that they look at. But when it comes back to it, I think the event industry is very much driven by people.
Yes.
And long may it continue.
Agreed.
Amy, Maurice, thank you so much. And good luck with all of the big grand plans that are out there, because I have a feeling that they're going to go your way. And if not, there'll be another one around the corner, which will be 10 times bigger and 10 times better. I want to thank you for being with us. And that was our podcast for the day. Amy Morris, thank you so much from Pop Up Global. We'll be back with more Eventful Arabia. Stay tuned.